Welcome to the Christian Contractor Podcast.
Christian Contractor Podcast.
A show created for kingdom-driven Christian contractors that are focused on scaling their business in God's name while positively impacting the world around them. If you're ready to ascend from a contractor to a purpose-driven business owner, we're here to serve you. Here's your host, Brandon Guthrie.
Crash and burn when scaling your contractor business without this one necessity. What's up? I'm Brandon Guthrie with the Dream Design Labs on the Christian Contractor Podcast, where our mission is to help Christian contractors turn their business into their ministry and scale it in the name of God with biblical principles and righteous marketing so that they can be a light in the darkness. Marketing doesn't have to be hard. You just need the right tools and the right heart to serve. Thanks for tuning in. I'm super excited to have Vince Thompson of Master Remodelers with me today. Vince, welcome and thank you for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Absolutely, man. It's an honor. This time is so precious and so valuable for the listeners, Christian contractors listening in right now. We're going to get some epic value. Vince has accomplished some amazing things, and he's here to pay it forward and give you guys some value that you're going to be able to implement in your business and get to that next level. Okay, before we jump into the secret sauce, Vince, we want to hear from you. Like, who's this guy? Who's Vince Thompson? Give us your story. Who are you? How'd you get here? And where are you from?
Yeah. I'll jump into that, and you tell me if I'm getting too long-winded or we need to move on because there's a lot there. I grew up in the home of an entrepreneur. My dad started an automotive repair business when he was just 18 or 19 years old, and he was not a godly man at the time. He was just getting out of a bad marriage, met my mother. I got into a good marriage with her, and then a few years later I came along, but I grew up in the home of an entrepreneur, and I saw those struggles. On about when I was 12 years old, my dad decided that he had been called to start a church. So he took some schooling and started a church in the garage of our home. So we gave up our garage, and he converted it into a church, and he ran a church out of there for about 5 years till we merged with another church. And growing up, I saw all of that. I was introduced to the ministry on a front row level. I was introduced to entrepreneurship on a front row level, and I really got to see how the two played off of each other. But on about when I graduated from high school, I felt like I was supposed to follow my dad's footsteps and become a pastor. So I graduated high school, went off to Bible college, and a year into Bible college, my mom called me and was terribly upset. My dad had started acting really, really odd. My dad was a brilliant man, and you can already tell I'm using the word was. So, tragedy shortly followed. He developed a brain tumor, and a year later passed away. So I left Bible college at the time to go home and thank you, to go home and help with the family, and really never made it back to Bible college in any way, shape, or form. Went right to work in the trades. Found a job with a guy in our neighborhood. It was a log home builder, and that was my first real introduction to trades. My dad and uncle built our home, but I was just a little kid then. I would run around and pick up scraps and nails and blocks of wood, but I saw them working, but I didn't ever do the work until I was out of Bible college. Built log homes for a few years. Jumped out of that and moved into building some doors and windows in a factory. About that time I got married. My first son came along, and the pastor at our church then invited me to come to work for him. He worked for the jacuzzi company, the guys that make the hot tubs and the spas and all that. So he trained me in that work, and a few years later he came to me and said, "Hey Vince, I'm ready to retire. I just want to focus on the ministry and not run a company. Do you want to buy my company?" And all of a sudden, this opportunity to go back into the world of entrepreneurship just fell into my lap by a man I respected, my pastor. He and I got pretty close by then. And so, 23 years old, I bought my first business. I had no clue what I was doing, no clue how to run a
What?
business. So
Oh my gosh.
that was fun. Ran that business for a few years and kind of grew weary. So
Hmm.
my wife and I talked, and we decided let's try to sell the business. See what was going on. See what's out
Hmm.
there. Uh, Found a buyer. At the same time, I started looking for new work. Found a company here in Knoxville. All the previous story I said all took place in Central Ohio, and so my son was a year old by then. Uh, Sold the business, moved to Knoxville, not knowing a single soul. My wife, my 1 year old, and took this job with another hot tub company. So uh, about 6 months into that, the company decided their expansion wasn't going to work, so they shut down their expansion. They hired me to work at, and I was left 6 months into a new city with a year and a half old son with no job. And to make it worse, the sale of my business had fallen through in Ohio, so I had all that fun to go with too. So about 3 months later, I think I was 24, 25 at that time. I got to declare bankruptcy. So we were pretty destitute by then. Uh, Fortunately, the church we were at helped us. They bought us groceries and they paid our rent for about a month until we could, recover from bankruptcy. And I took a job waiting tables at Cracker Barrel during the day and working as a security guard at night. So, uh, in a few months period, I fell from a business owner with a couple employees to waiting tables and working a security guard job and being bankrupt and having a vehicle repossessed. And I
Wow.
was barely 25
Wow.
years old.
Oh man. You went
So,
into the ringer.
yeah,
They're like,
yeah.
oh, we're not done.
No, 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 we're not done by any means. Uh, so we recovered slowly. Uh, I found a better job and slowly worked our way out of bankruptcy. Was able to move out of an apartment into a rental home that was great. Found a wonderful Christian lady who was had a couple properties and she rented to us. Uh,
Hmm.
she was awesome. She understood our financial issues and very
Hmm.
patient with us and helped us along the way. Our church continued to help us as need be. But
Hmm.
as I moved into a better job situation, obviously our circumstances changed some. We by that time had another son, and were ready to look at actually home ownership. That
Nice.
a few years later, after that, we recovered and we started looking to buy our first house. Bought a home. Uh, Work kind of fell apart again. I was invited to no longer work for the pest control company I was working for. They had basically they shaved some employees off. They wanted to save some
Hmm.
overhead costs, so they
Hmm.
consolidated a few routes, and
Hmm.
I found myself back in the trades. A gentleman at our church was a deck builder, and so he hired me to come to work for him building decks.
Hmm.
So I did that for a few years
Okay.
and moved in from that to working for another contractor at our church. We finally bought our first home. My mother-in-law and my mother moved in with us, so that was great. They would help out with the boys some. They contributed some with the bills. So it was kind of that family situation all under one roof, helping each other out. So that was a good time. Uh, right about then, by now it's 2007, 2008. I had been working for the second contractor for a few years, and he decided to basically do the same thing as the pest control company did. He shaved some overhead. By then, I had worked my way out of the field and was working as a general manager in the office. He had about 20 employees. He was doing multi-million-dollar commercial build-outs by then. So I was kind of, an official ball juggler running the office, and, he would go out and do the sales, and I was, professional paper shuffler by then. So December of 2007 or 2008, I honestly can't remember which one, he invited me to no longer be employed there. And so I started my own remodeling company in the middle of the downturn. So that was another fun time because we had grown pretty financially comfortable by then. Regular paycheck, company vehicle, insurance, and all those things you're supposed to have when you're, stable and successful.
Right,
So,
right.
started my
Goodness.
started my company then. Really just did handyman work, for years. Whatever I could find. I was changing light bulbs for old people. I was putting plastic on windows. I was mowing people's yards. I was mulching. I would, paint rooms, caulk windows. Whatever I could find
Wow.
just to bring in money. I had no shame.
Yeah.
I had two boys and a wife to take care of, and a mortgage to pay for.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
slowly over time, the business grew. I learned about networking and started doing some networking with other people, and that helped out. Found a couple realtors that fed me pretty regular leads and referrals for years, and things got comfortable again. I then decided I was going to get into some insurance work. I had worked an insurance claim and kind of liked the process. So I went and got certified in water, mold, fire, and hoarding, all those certifications to clean up that and do insurance claims. And really that leap at that time propelled me to where I am now. Uh, 2 years into that process of doing insurance work, I was working with a business coach and consultant on how to grow my business, and he said, "Hey, I'm doing coaching and consulting for two other people. Uh, I think that the three of you could complement each other. Are you interested in talking and to see if there's anything here?" And I said, "Sure," because I was struggling to take my business to the next level. Trying to, I was a one man show, so I was doing the sales, doing the estimating, doing the billing, doing the work. I was doing everything by myself, and I had maxed out about as much as I could handle. So the four of us met, my coach and the two other contractors, and we said, "Yeah, we think there's something here." So we worked with him and developed a new company. Uh, One of the partners was a new home builder. The other partner was kitchen and bath remodeling, and then there was me doing insurance work. So we really saw the potential there to complement each other's business. So we all formed a brand new entity, a brand new LLC. And this is I'm literally drinking from a fire hose at this time because I was going from a sole proprietorship to a 33% partner in an LLC. Going from a $100,000 a year in revenue, not profit, but revenue was what I was churning myself. And then so you can do the math and figure out about what I was living on by that time. To merging up with these guys who were doing over 1 million each year in revenue. So
Nice.
it was a brand new world for me.
Yes.
So a few years into that relationship, we decided that my business really just wasn't taking off like it should. Didn't mesh as well as we thought. So I said, "Hey, I really think I'd love to act as a GM for our business." Because when I did that years ago, I liked it. I liked that process and systems and keeping all the balls juggled in the air and the plates spinning. I kind of liked that. I just can't do physical work and that both. So we shut down my division and I moved into the general manager role, and pretty quickly found out that the company wasn't as profitable as we needed it to be. And we discovered that one of the partners was actually losing money on each job. So we had as they say, a come to Jesus meeting, and hired a financial consultant to come in and review the books, and discovered the last two jobs that were completed by that partner had lost between $20,000 and $30,000 each on each of the projects. So you can't grow a company, paying to do the work like that, losing that big of a chunk on all the jobs. So they refused to see it, and so the other partner and I left. We consulted with our attorney and legally withdrew from the partnership, and split up all the assets and formed Master Remodelers. So that's been 7 years ago, and I continue in the role as GM, and my partner continues in the role as the company license holder and the sales, and we have really meshed well together. I've learned a lot from them. They are hinting and considering retirement. They're 67 years old right now. They've been a general contractor for 25 years, and my business partner is a female. So she's known as Knoxville's first female general contractor, and so I've learned a lot from her. I've seen how successful women can be in the trades, because they typically do pretty well, sometimes better than men do at trades, really. Just especially in the remodeling world, because women tend to make so many of the decisions when it comes to kitchen and bath remodeling. Our clients sometimes feel more comfortable speaking with a female general contractor. So I've really learned a lot from that. But 2 years ago, we decided to overhaul everything in the company. We were looking at our image and looking at our brand, and realizing it hadn't been updated in years. So through networking, I met a marketing company out of Nashville, and I led Master Remodelers through a total brand overhaul. We redid our logo, redid our website, redid all of our radio commercials, our truck wraps, everything. So that's been a great process, and we're starting to see the results from that. We always were, we're around that million mark. We had a little dip for a few years when we broke away from the other partnership, just because we had to kind of overhaul our marketing at that time too, and the whole separation. You're going to have a bit of a dip, but we are back up to where this year we're gonna break $1 million in revenue. We have an addition we're working on right now. Thanks. Have an addition that we're bidding out and putting together with our architect right now. That is a $550,000 addition. So, it's a big boy. So I'm looking at this, and I'm looking at 10 years ago, I was barely breaking $100,000 in revenue myself, and now I'm acting as general manager, and I'm a co-owner of a company that's looking at one single addition that's $550,000.
Wow.
Wow.
Amazing.
10 years of slugging it out, has got me to this position where, life is somewhat fun.
Yeah, that's so great, man. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I appreciate the story, and
Yeah.
and you've been through the ringer, you've learned a lot, and that's inspiring to a lot of people who are probably going through some of those earlier moments right now. So
Oh yeah, I mean, life isn't all rainbows and butterflies now. There are moments where life sucks, but I can look back and see where I came from.
Yes, 100%, man. Wow. Huge transformation coming from gross annual revenue of 100K to now you're hitting that $1 million mark and growing, and you invested in your branding, and I know that's going to pay dividends for you in the long run. That's huge.
Oh yeah.
That's awesome, man. Wow, Vince, that is so amazing for our listeners listening in right now. You guys, if you're going through the ringer right now, just stick to it, keep pushing, because when everyone else gives up is right when you're about to hit your big breakthrough.